Beast will make off with your children. He'll come after them in the night.
No.
We're not safe till his head is mounted on my wall. I say we kill the beast!
Greetings and salutations to all fair viewers out there in internet land. Welcome to another episode of Military Movie Talk, the show where we sometimes talk about military movies. And why haven't you done anything about this? I, a dummy with a subpar microphone, have been making video after video with impunity while not actually having any real qualifications to do so. You all should be ashamed of yourselves for letting me get away with this. I mean, I can't keep getting away with this. Call the FBI. Call MI5. Call the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Do something.
Do something! Do something!
Anyway, thanks to your inaction, we're doing our first animated movie today. And it would appear I'm still on a Disney kick. Oh well, do what you know and all that. And I, for one, know how to be a mindless consumer, bought in by mass marketing, brand recognition, and $25 for an alien popcorn bucket? Jumping Jehoshaphat, that's a lot of money! Alright, we're back on track. And as you saw when you clicked on the video, we're doing Gaston's assault on the Beast's castle for today's battle analysis. Making a joke about how Gaston was actually the good guy is so passé. You're totally the first YouTuber to ever do that. Hey, I can jump on a bandwagon with the best of them. Stick around long enough and you'll probably hear me make a bad joke about how Belle has Stockholm Syndrome. So for those of you still here, grab yourself a drink and a singing, dancing stein as we get into the scenario. Circa sometime in mid-1700s France. So I guess there's like a prince who just like hangs out in his castle all day. I don't know. I don't really get it. And then one day there's a knock at the door and it's like, I'm an old lady. Let me in and give me some soup and I'll give you a flower. And the prince is like, ooh, no, gross. I'm not gonna do that. I mean, look at you. No, I got a flower. It's fine. No, get out of here. No. Oh, you're gonna regret that. Do you know why? Do you know why you're gonna regret that? With my one eye? Nope, I don't know. Kadoosh. And then, she's like, haha, I'm actually a sorceress, with magical powers. Don't you feel silly now? You didn't know that. Anyway, you were a jerk to me, so I'm gonna use my magical powers. Hapox on you! I'm gonna turn you into a weird, bear-buffalo hybrid, and all your servants are gonna be random inanimate objects that just, kind of happen to, coincide with their jobs, yeah. Alright, already things have gone off the rails. Not the sorceress part. This is a Disney movie. That part checks out. Now, why is there a French prince just chilling out in the middle of the woods? I mean, by the 1700s, the French royal government was already very well established. Nobody's concerned a prince just vanished along with his staff. So in the 2017 version, they did try to plug this little plot hole by suggesting that this prince was just kind of acting more like another member of French nobility. So like, what would that be? Like a marquis or something? I don't know. They got weird names for stuff. And that directly afterwards, I guess the Wicked Witch of Normandy there used the little Men in Black neuralizer on the local populace so they wouldn't miss their sweet prince. But we're not talking about that version. We're talking about the 91 version. So that'll be the last time we have to reference that. Maybe. Point is, there's a bewitched castle with a big old beast inside. Close to the castle is a quaint village, whose main figurehead is a man named Gaston, who holds considerable influence over the village. Okay, look, I'm working under the assumption that you've at least seen Beauty and the Beast, or are at the very least familiar with the basic story structure. You know, Gaston likes Belle and wants to marry her. Belle's father gets lost in the woods and gets captured by the beast. Belle goes and trades places with her dad. Belle spends time with the beast and his crew. Stuff happens, I'll be our guest, be our guest. Belle starts thinking, hey, this horrid eldritch monster ain't so bad. She develops Stockholm Syndrome. Hey, there it is. I didn't take too long at all, did it? Anyway, the head of the Beastie Boys, well, he was either that or chairman of Where the Wild Things Are, and that seemed like a mouthful. Head of the Beastie Boys turns out likes Belle too, so he's like, you know what? You can go now. And Belle's like, okay, peace. And so we get to the setup for why we're all here. Belle gets back to the village with her father, where Gaston offers for Belle to marry him so he doesn't have to throw her pops into the loony bin. Look, the theory that Gaston's actually the good guy isn't airtight, but we're rolling with it. Well, Belle rejects this generous and reasonable quid pro quo and tells Gaston that actually you can't lock up my dad for being crazy because there really is a beast in the woods, see? And Gaston's like, well, that's a problem. And it's a problem he's gonna need to deal with. How? Well, that's something we can all examine together as we get into our Met TC. The mission. I mean, something needs to be done, because now it's known that there's a giant beast that clearly represents a clear and present danger to the village just a short distance down the road. I mean, it's a perfectly well-founded fear. Wolf attacks in France at this time period were absolutely known to happen. Hey, here's a little fan theory for you. Do you think the beast of Beauty and the Beast could actually be the beast of G. Van Dan?
Gévaudan. Gévaudan.
Whatever. The timeline actually works out really well. See, the short version of it is in the mid 1700s in G. Van Dan, France. For a few years, people around the area were frequently getting attacked and killed by something, by a wolf or a wolf pack, especially if they were going into the woods alone. And at least one witness described the animal as looking like a wolf, but standing on its hind legs and being much bigger than a normal wolf. Matter of fact, at least according to how the story goes, the attacks didn't stop until the animal was shot by a hunter that used a musket ball that he cast out of silver.
Stay focused!
Yeah. I guess we did get a little off topic there. So, seeing as how there's a threatening monster in the castle that needs dealt with, Gaston's mission is to rally the townspeople into an ad hoc force. I guess you might call them a militia, but considering they weren't already organized into one, and they more spontaneously assembled for a singular goal, maybe the term posse might be more appropriate. Anyway, there's the mission. It's to move to target at the Beast Castle and take out the threat. Basically what we got here is a raid. Let's talk about that now. So according to the Ranger Handbook, a raid is a combat operation to attack a position or installation followed by a planned withdrawal. The raid is similar to that of an ambush. Additionally, the assault element may have to conduct a breach of an obstacle. The raid's fundamentals are surprise, coordinated fire, violence of action, followed by a planned withdrawal. So, Gaston and his men are planning on assaulting the Beast Castle with the limited objective of eliminating the Beast, and then, once that's done, withdrawing back to the village in time for celebratory drinks with the boys. In other words, a raid. The enemy. The enemy's commander, as well as the force's main threat, is the Beast himself. He's large and he's strong. Luckily, all his attacks are kind of the melee variety. His weapons are his teeth, his claws, and I guess you can go rawr. So, I mean, the good news is he doesn't really have a way to attack you from a distance.
That's what guns are for.
The Beast has under his command a multitude of minions, which are now various forms of items that conveniently line up with whatever their job was when they were human. This veritable menagerie of household items are both sentient and animate. Now, if video games have taught me anything, and believe me, they have, enchanted enemies is when you want to break out your fireballs and your lightning. However, alas, our group of plucky villagers don't have that tool in their toolbox, and will have to rely on their wits and whatever weapons they can bring with them. But alas, the calculation of an enemy's strength isn't just in their numbers, but in their defenses as well. The Beast Castle is of the late French Renaissance design, and its architecture blends Gothic and Baroque elements.
And as I always say, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it. Where was I?
And as these styles have a bit more emphasis on beauty as opposed to the strict defense practicality, this could play into our attacking force's advantage. See, by this point in castle history, they were no longer really doing as much the layered defense strategy of the older Mont and Bailey style castles, and gone now are defensive features like your crenellations and your machiculations. There's taught you 2 new words. You're welcome. And even though it now lacks some of these features, at the end of the day, a castle is still a castle and is primarily designed to keep out the aggressing force. The outer perimeter of the castle is guarded by a stone wall, however, a simple decorative iron gate makes up its sally point, which can be easily dealt with. From there, a large causeway leads to the castle's main entrance. This funnels any potential assaulting force into a single point, leaving them vulnerable to missile fire from the castle. The main entrance itself is made up of large wooden double doors that will have to be dealt with, whether that be by means of mechanical breaching, explosive breaching, or deception, just to name a few. You've got options. Troops. We'll begin with the raiding force's de facto leader, Gaston. Now, the film makes it clear that he has extensive hunting experience, and this would grant him a familiarity with firearms, archery, and probably stalking as well. And for that matter, I do have on good authority that he is especially good at expectorating. Now, in the 2017 version, I guess I did end up mentioning it again. Well, Gaston makes the comment,
Ever since the war, I felt like I've been missing something.
and so we can cleverly deduce from that that Gaston most likely has military experience as well. Hey, whatever happened to Luke Evans? Like 10 years ago, it seemed like he was in everything. Now,
Stay focused!
sorry. As for the Gaston's men, they're of course made up of the village people, insert YMCA joke here, who grab whatever weapons are closest due to the spontaneous nature of the raid. Their strength is approximately 50. What? Yes, they can. 50 Frenchmen can be very wrong. I'm pretty sure more than 50 Frenchmen thought the Maginot Line would hold, and we all know how that went. Anyway, being normal townspeople, their skill sets are going to vary wildly from military veterans to just guys. In their favor, though, is the fact that they're all neighbors and therefore should be able to work together fairly well. The terrain. The Beast Castle appears to only be a few clicks from the village, or at the very least it's close enough that a group of mainly dismounted men can move to target in a single night. The castle itself is nestled deep in the forest, right down at the end of
I don't think so, Tim.
Lane. Time. Well, I guess we already said that it only takes a few hours to walk to the castle, so I guess we really don't have much else for this. I guess you could say the driving force for the mission is getting the beast so he doesn't eat any more children, which, as we established earlier, is definitely happening. So, yeah, that'll work. Civilian considerations. Well, a large amount of civilians do live in the castle, and typically you can't target civilian property in war, although the beast is in the castle, and when a legitimate military target is hiding in and amongst civilians, that is an exception. Then again, you're not supposed to target civilians, although once the civilians fight back, you could make the argument that they become agitators and are therefore free game. However, Gaston's force doesn't really constitute a legitimate military, so I guess French civilian law would actually be the ruling force in this situation, and would therefore be under the jurisdiction of the French king, I guess? Whatever. I don't know. Let's just see how it plays out in the movie. Alright, now as soon as Gaston decides that the beast needs taken out, he whips up the crowd into a frenzy to the point where they're agitated up to the point where they become a mob. Alright, let's talk about this. Now, in civil disturbance training for police and military, there are multiple levels of a crowd getting together and things escalating. As I've said before, this is not a learning channel, and I refuse to take the time to actually look up exactly what it is, but sufficient to say at the lowest level, you've got people that just come together for a common cause, a common goal. And this can be as simple as a sports game or a concert. And this can escalate to higher levels, like people coming together for a common goal that they're wanting to accomplish. Like they're there to, protest the man to bring back Fish Stick Friday. And at the top of this escalation is the mob, a group that is now disordered, it's destructive, violent, and it will do those things in order to accomplish their goals. Often they will be compelled forward by a charismatic leader or leaders. So in movie land, obviously Gaston would absolutely represent that charismatic leader. In a real world scenario, someone like Gaston would absolutely be a prime target for riot control police to go in and snag to attempt to de escalate the crowd. Alright, well, back to the movie. Well, this can absolutely work out to Gaston's advantage that he's got the crowd whipped up into a mob mentality, as he can easily manipulate the crowd now and get it to go along with his goals. However, the risk there is that once everything breaks loose, that Gaston may no longer be able to maintain command and control of the mob as they go about their destruction. Anywhoozles, while moving to target, Gaston and his men chop down a tree in order to use it as an improvised battering ram.
That's good.
And then proceed to walk right down the causeway without practicing any noise or light discipline.
That's bad.
Well, luckily enough for them, they are able to make it to the doors without encountering any resistance. Once inside, Gaston and his men enter the main, foyer? Is that the word I'm looking for? Ooh, something else I've never noticed before. Hey, look at that. Old boy right there in the corner brought a piece of artillery with him.
Stay focused!
I know. Well, as they enter the room, they get caught in pretty much every military man's worst fear ever. The dreaded, two-sided, close ambush.
Now!
Well, as hand-to-hand fighting breaks out, any cohesion the mob had instantly dissolves. Which leaves Gaston no choice but to break away in order to find the beast and begin doing a little one-man room clearing.
That's bad.
Back on the ground level, the beast's lackeys use every dirty trick in the book to— oh my gosh, they're pouring boiling liquid on that man! Hey, did you know back in the medieval period, pouring boiling waters on attackers was a real technique used in castle defense?
Stay focused!
I know! Well, of course, the mob stands not a chance against these diabolical tactics and are quickly routed. Meantime, Gaston manages to locate the beast and hit him with an arrow. Looks like the job's almost done. All Gaston has to do now is literally just crack some skulls and he can call jackpot. Unfortunately, though, the beast begins fighting back, and a little rooftop combat breaks out between the two foes. Well, the beast gains the upper hand, and it looks like it's curtains for old Gaston. That is, until the beast is distracted by the most distracting distraction in the history of distractions. A woman. And this distraction may just give our hero the one last chance he needs to finish the mission. And he slips. You slipped? My God, you were right there. You had it, and you slip and fall? Ooh, his eyes have little skulls in them as he's falling. Okay, Disney animators, that's a nice touch. Anyway, I don't know. I guess the tactical lesson we learned from this is when traversing high places, especially when it's wet, always make sure you got a, good hand and footholds. Well, obviously, a tactical defeat for Gaston and the mob. Well, you all know how the story goes, so I won't waste your time. The spell is broken, the beast is turned back into the prince, and he is once again free to take out his retribution on the townspeople who broke into his house. Thanks once again for joining me and doing the movie discussions. How would you have attacked the beast's castle? Would you have trained the villagers for longer? Would you have settled in for a long siege? These are important questions, and I need you to post below your answers on how you would have done it. And then, as always, go discuss it with your real-life friends. Seriously, though, thanks once again for joining me, and until next time, Armchair Commanders, keep your powder dry.